it out front. Pulsating and puzzling, turn my brain into egg foo young. I struck a vein, I'm suffering. My mockingbird can't sing the same songs. My body cracks, knees buckling. I got a bad case of brain fog. Said I got a bad case of brain fog. So I'ma take my butt home. So I'ma take my butt home.
Hello, everybody. How are you today? Ooh, I couldn't get my co-host in her place. So she's here now and she's asleep. She was asleep on the floor behind me. So I'm sorry I'm a little bit late, but I'm so glad all of you are here. I have a very interesting story for you today. But before we do any of that, first of all, I want to say thank Parson 1122 for being a member for 5 months. I appreciate that very much. And it's the first day of the month, so we need to do a drawing, right? Drum roll, please. I never claimed to be a musician. So we're going to draw a name and we're doing a coffee mug this month because I really like the new design of the coffee mugs. So you can pick any of them, whoever's name this is. Erica. Can you guys see that? It is Erica. Thank you very much. I just realized that I am mirrored. So, Erica, I'm going to put your name here so I don't forget. The rest of these are going in the trash and we're starting anew. So, the first name that will go in here for this month is Parson 1122 because he just renewed his membership and I appreciate it. Okay, so coffee mug for Erica. And let's fix my camera. It was like a scramble this weekend to get everything done for you guys. But I did it. It's done. Although we may, oh yeah, I feel better now. I was feeling like twisted upside down. Now I feel better. This may turn into a two-part because we have 17 like beefy pages of notes and a lot of videos. So it may turn into a two-parter. We'll see when I'm about halfway through. If we've gone more than an hour and a half to 2 hours, then I'll call it and we'll finish it up next week, maybe Tuesday night. We'll see. So we're just going to make a game time decision. I'm going to talk about today young lady named Taylor Wright. Now, I kind of teased it in my show last weekend, which was a Crimeland episode, that I have a weird sort of connection to this case. I didn't know Taylor Wright. Don't get me wrong, but when this was going on, I have a how do I explain this? So my husband, Mr. Zed, was a private investigator, and that was his job before he went to Afghanistan. He was in the military, then he went to Iraq. Then he came back and had like normal jobs. And one of his normal job was as a private investigator. And he quit that job to go to Afghanistan. So when he knew other private investigators, obviously, from this private investigator company that he worked for, and one of them lived in Jacksonville, Florida. When we would go on vacation to Florida, we went on a lot of cruises out of like Port Canaveral. We used to. We haven't been in years, but we would stop and see his friend, who I'm going to try not to name because I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just, anyway, we would stop and see his friend that lived in Jacksonville, who was also a private investigator. And one of the times in 2017, we were on our way to a cruise and we stopped to see this friend. We stayed overnight in Jacksonville and we saw this friend. And he said that one of his people that he would hire, another private investigator on the west side of Florida, was missing. So when we were on our way to the cruise, she was missing. And then on the way home, they had found her body. So I was like the week before her body was found, I was on a cruise somewhere in the Caribbean out of Port Canaveral. And at the time, I was kind of into true crime, like the normal amount of into true crime, not like I am now. I was like the normal amount into true crime as like an average watcher of my show probably is. So it was interesting and I wanted to know more, but I didn't really look into it at the time. Then, probably 2 years later, the trial was going on and I saw it and I'm like, gosh, the story sounds so familiar. Oh, yeah. Mr. Zed's private investigator friend from Florida told us about this girl. So I watched the trial and that was in 2019, I think. Hold on, I'm losing my voice. Anyway, this girl lived on the Gulf Coast in Pensacola and did investigations all the way from like Louisiana, all on the Gulf Coast of Florida. You know, Biloxi, all of those little states in there, or, you know, towns along the coast in there. I know what's missing. Background music. Why didn't you guys tell me? That's better. That's a little too scary for this video. Let's find something a little more. Let's see if this is better. Anyway, so we're going to get into the story of Taylor Wright. It's going to be a lot of talking at first. Most of the videos that I have are from the trial. And you'll see why, because at the beginning, they thought maybe she had gone missing on her own. So there wasn't a lot of news stories out about her. So Taylor Wright was born April 23rd, 1984. And she had a kind of a rough childhood growing up. She was removed from her home at the age of 13 and placed into like DCFS care, like foster care. And she was later adopted by her foster mom, whose name was Nancy Murchison. And we'll talk about Nancy a little bit later on, because Nancy created a Facebook page called Justice for Taylor Wright. And she, we'll get to her later on, but she seems like a really good person. She had a horse farm and Taylor loved to ride the horses on this horse farm that Nancy had. Now, in 2003, Taylor met Jeff Wright. I don't know why this music, all the music that Restream is giving me today is very upbeat. It's a little better. So Jeff Wright was in the military. He was in the Air Force, and she met him, and they got married. She met him in the fall of 2003, and they dated for a few months, right? And then they got married and had a son. And he was stationed in Jacksonville, North Carolina. They kept saying Jacksonville, and the whole time I was thinking it was Florida, but I think it was Jacksonville, North Carolina. And I didn't even know. I know there's a Marine camp there, Camp Lejeune is there, but I didn't realize the Air Force was there too. So Taylor ended up becoming a police officer in Jacksonville. And like I said, her husband was in the Air Force. In 2013, Taylor left her job as a police officer and decided to become a private investigator. Enter our friend that we know from Jacksonville, Florida. In 2015, so they're married for a couple years. They have a young son. They're very happy for a little while. But then in 2015, Jeff accuses Taylor of having an affair with a woman. And they began to argue like all the time, like knockdown, blowout arguments. And shortly after Jeff found out that she was cheating on him with a woman, he ends up moving out of the house. And even though she was denying it, this woman moves in to the house that Jeff moved out of, like their marital home. Anyway, they end up Taylor and this woman end up getting kicked out of this apartment because they too were having loud arguments, and the police were called to the house several times, which is kind of embarrassing for an ex-police officer. I think it would be embarrassing for anybody for your neighbors to see the cops being called to your house for fighting with your girlfriend or husband. Both cases for Taylor, right? But especially embarrassing for an ex-police officer. So in June of 2015, Jeff finally files for like actual divorce. So they're not just separated anymore. Jeff ends up gaining full custody of the son. And the reason is because in between the time that they separated and he filed for divorce, she ended up assaulting him twice, and the cops were called and she was arrested. But then Jeff's like, no, I don't want to press charges, because she is like a little tiny woman. You saw her in the thumbnail. She's a very slight, tiny woman, but keep in mind she was a police officer and she was kind of a badass. So just because she was little didn't mean she didn't pack a punch. She had hand-to-hand combat training and stuff like that. But either way, he was in the military too, and he's like, I don't want to press charges. So no charges went through, but there is this history of violence with her. Now, I don't want you to think that I'm bad talking a victim, because Taylor's the victim in this story, right? But all of this is important to the story. Otherwise, I wouldn't be just bad mouthing the victim to badmouth the victim, right? But anyway, Jeff gains custody of the son. And after that, Taylor ends up moving from Jacksonville to Pensacola, Florida. And she ended up moving out of the area that she had been living in. Jeff's got custody of the kid. They're going through this divorce, this back and forth. And once she moves to Jacksonville, she meets a woman named Cassandra. They ended up meeting on like a dating app. So now Taylor Wright and Cassandra are dating, and Cassandra's falling like head over heels for Taylor. I really think that Cassandra loved her very much. And you'll see why in a minute, because like it's difficult, because I am in love with my husband, obviously, but I've been in relationships before where I thought I was in love, but the relationship wasn't really good for me, and it's hard to leave those kind of relationships. I think that this relationship for Cassandra probably wasn't good with Taylor, but she loved her so much. So they end up making plans for the future, and they're going to move in together and all this stuff. And then Cassandra finds out that Taylor is cheating on her with another woman that lives in Biloxi, Mississippi. Not only that, she finds out that Taylor's also experimenting with doing drugs like cocaine and stuff, like hard drugs, not just like smoking pot or whatever, right? So they need to have this very serious conversation, and they end up deciding to meet at a mutual friend's house. It was more Taylor's friend. Taylor had known this person for like a year, but they were such close friends that she had a key to her house. And even though Ashley's the girl's name, right? Even though Ashley's not home, she asks Cassandra, her girlfriend, to meet her over at Ashley's house so they could talk about this cheating and the drug use and all of that stuff. About halfway through the conversation, Ashley ends up coming home, so she overhears some of this conversation, and Cassandra ends up leaving really upset, like really mad, says, I don't ever want to see you again. Get out of my life. You're not moving into my house, just scram. But about a week later, Cassandra ends up taking Taylor back. Like I said, I know I've been there. I think probably all of us at some point have been into a relationship like that, where we know in our brains that it's not good for us, but in our hearts, we just can't help ourselves. I think that most people have been in that situation, I don't know why my voice is all scratchy all of a sudden. Hold on one second. Okay, maybe I got the frog out of my throat now. In June of 2017, we're going back to Jeff now. Sorry. We skip around a lot in this because it's just so much. There's so much information. And I'm trying not to miss anything. But a lot of stuff is happening at the same time. So we're going to skip back and forth. I'm going to try to tell the story the best I can. We'll see. This one might be over my head. I forgot to pull up the Rumble chat, and last week I got a super chat on Rumble that I totally missed. So by the way, thank you Waffle Salter for doing a $50 super chat last week on Rumble that I totally didn't even say anything about. And hello to the Rumble people over there. Actually, I'm going to put you over here on this side. There we go. That's easier to see. I have 4 screens. It's too much, honestly. All right, so back to Jeff. So in this divorce, they end up selling their house, and there's a joint bank account that they have that has all of their assets in it. It's over $100,000. So a lot of money, not like nothing to shake a stick at, right? And during the divorce proceedings, this account is frozen. So neither Jeff nor Taylor can get any money out of this account. It's frozen. Now, once it becomes unfrozen, they're still not supposed to touch it. It's supposed to be divided up on how it's set forth in like the divorce papers. But Taylor doesn't do that. She withdraws all $100,000 out of this bank account. I think it was 105 total, but over $100,000 in this bank account that she's not supposed to touch. She takes it all out in different forms. Like she transfers some money. She takes out cashier's checks in different amounts, like different seemingly random amounts of cashier's checks, actual cash. She just drains this whole account, and the judge is pissed. Meanwhile, they're going through like a custody hearing too, because she's got like Jeff has full custody, but she has visitation, and she's trying to get like partial custody or joint custody of their son. So there's still a judge involved, and when he finds out that Taylor took this $100,000 out of this account that she was not supposed to take, he court orders her to put that money back into an escrow account, which, if you guys don't know, an escrow account, the only time that I've ever dealt with an escrow account is when we bought our house. But it's basically an account. How do I explain an escrow account? Somebody smarter than me should probably explain it. It's basically you have to put your money into an account. You're not paying for the thing yet, but it's to prove that you actually have the money to pay for the thing. So you have to put it into an account that people can see that you have the actual money. Am I explaining this right? Somebody who's smarter than me, tell me if that's correct. If that's what an escrow account is. I'm pretty sure that that's what it is. So she's supposed to put this money into an escrow account. She's got this money spread all over the place. It's in different bank accounts. It's, like I said, in physical cashier's checks. She also owes back child support of $4,300. And the judge says, hey, if you don't have this money back into an escrow account by September 7th, 2017, I'm going to hold you in contempt and you're going to go to jail for being in contempt of court. Obviously, Taylor doesn't want that. So she starts, like, she was trying to hide the money from Jeff, but she starts putting the money back, and she's $34,000 short because she had given a cashier's check to this, remember the friend whose house she had the key to, Ashley? She had given her a cashier's check to put into her safety deposit box. She had like a Wells Fargo safety deposit box, or at least Taylor thought she did. And it's like an actual, like an actual physical check that's untraceable because it's a cashier's check, right? So she starts texting Ashley saying, hey, I need that money because I'm going to be held in contempt for weeks ahead of time. She's like, we got to go over to the safety deposit box. She would, and in the text, it said the WF, which stood for Wells Fargo. We got to go over to WF. I gotta, first of all, she had jewelry too. So she wanted to put some jewelry into the safety deposit box and get the cashier's check out. Turns out Ashley started giving her the runaround and just had excuse after excuse of why she couldn't go that day to get the check for her. And I'm not even sure why Taylor had to go with her to the bank, but they had decided that Taylor and Ashley were going to go together to the bank to get this out of the Wells Fargo account. But that's what they were going to do. I would think personally, I'd just be like, Ashley, go whenever you want, whenever you have time. I don't have to be there. Go to the Wells Fargo, get my check, because it's still supposed to be a physical check. She's not supposed to have done anything except stick it in a safe deposit box. Go get it and bring it to me, or bring it to your house, or bring it to your work, and I'll come pick it up. So, while all this is going on, Cassandra and Taylor are moving in together. I see both Erica and Ron. When I get to a stopping point, I will give Xena some dog treats. I think I have a video coming up shortly, but I have 2 treats out for Xena. So they're moving in together, and they ended up borrowing a box truck from this Ashley MacArthur lady because she had a business where she had box trucks. So she borrowed a box truck to move Taylor's stuff over to Cassandra's house. And so they're in the process of moving in together. They got into that big blowout fight. It lasted like a week, and then they got back together and immediately started to move in together, which is like the complete opposite. I would be like... Like, if I found out that my significant other or my boyfriend was not only cheating on me, but was doing cocaine, I think my first reaction would not be, why don't you move in with me? But I'm wondering if that's sort of like a control thing. Like maybe if you live here, I can keep an eye on you better sort of thing. I'm not sure. I'm not a psychologist. So. All right. So September 7th is the deadline of this court where she's got to have this money in this escrow account, like drop dead. That's not a good saying to use on my channel. Like the drop dead date. How like the if it's not in there, she's going to be held in contempt of court, right? She's going to go to jail. The judge had already warned her, you're going to jail. So she tells Ashley on the 6th, like, this is the last day. I need to have it in there by the 7th. And I have to have the back child support paid or I'm going to jail. So you have to give me my money. Please give me my money. Over and over, these texts, these calls, over and over and over. I need my money. I need my money. I need my money. What are you doing? There's probably foul language in there. Give me my flipping money. Then Ashley's like, oh, I didn't get your text. Like, where are you? And this is on the 7th now. And she's out to dinner with Cassandra at Twin Peaks restaurant in Pensacola. And so she goes over there and meets Cassandra and Taylor. Ashley goes over to the Twin Peaks restaurant and meets them. And they set up a time for the next day to go get the money, even though it's going to be late. What Taylor ended up doing is calling the... she had her lawyer call the court and say that Taylor couldn't come to court because Hurricane Irma was coming and she had to go to her mom's house and help her mom like batten down the hatches. Her mom, remember, she had that horse farm and all that. So that's what she tells the judge. By the way, I didn't find any evidence that she actually went to her mom's house to help out at all. I think she just told the court that like, hey, this hurricane's coming, I gotta help my mom, so give me an extension. And the judge did give her an extension, but she still was like telling Ashley, give me my money. You need to give me my money. Like right now, give me my money. Let me put my notes over here. Okay, so they set up this date. They're at this restaurant, and Ashley's like, okay, I'll pick you up tomorrow morning. And she showed up the next day on the 8th of September, 2017. Ashley shows up at Cassandra and Taylor's house to pick her up. It was around 10 a.m. So sometime shortly after Ashley arrived, but they didn't leave yet. Taylor and Ashley didn't leave yet. Cassandra leaves to go to work. She was like a school administrator, and she was like, she volunteered to volunteer that day. She had scheduled herself to be a volunteer that day. So she had left the house that day to go volunteer at whatever she was volunteering at. And so the last time Cassandra saw Taylor was at her house, and Ashley was there, and they were about to leave to go to the bank. Everything seems fine, right? Sometime after they left, Cassandra and Taylor were texting back and forth normally between 10 a.m. and 11:30. Taylor was answering Cassandra's text, just, back and forth normal messages. And then all of a sudden, the last text that she got was Cassandra said, "Hey, did you go to the bank yet?" And Taylor texted back, "Not yet. It's a long story. I'll tell you about it later." Meaning, like, if I text Mr. Zed, like if he asks me something like that, and I said, "Oh, I'll tell you about it later," it means there's a story to go along with whatever it is that he's asking, and it's too much to text. So that's the last text that she received for a while from Taylor. But Cassandra kept texting. No response back. Finally, at around 4 p.m., Cassandra texted Ashley and asked if Taylor was okay because, like, she's not responding. And Ashley just texted back, says, "Yeah, she's fine." Then Ashley called Cassandra almost immediately after that text and said, "Hey, we're at this horse farm in Milton, and Taylor's riding a horse right now, so she can't come to the phone, but I'll have her call you later. Everything's fine. Don't worry. She just wanted to have fun because she's just had so much stress with the divorce and, like, all of the stuff that was going on with you guys, and she just wanted to ride horses for a while. So we went up to Milton, and she's riding a horse." Okay, that's weird. And nobody knows if they went to the bank or not, which was the whole point of them getting together. Finally, with no response at about 7:30, Cassandra texts Ashley and says, "This is not okay." Once again, Ashley called Cassandra instead of texting back, and she told Cassandra that after horseback riding, like after they were done horseback riding in Milton, they went back to Ashley's house, and Taylor said that she wanted to leave and go downtown and have a drink. So around 5:15, Taylor called an Uber, and they were standing outside waiting for the Uber, and Ashley went into her house to get something, and when she came back outside, Taylor was gone. And she said she must have gone downtown to get a drink or something like that, and I can't believe she's not home yet. That's so weird. I don't know where she is. About 20 minutes later, Cassandra receives a text from Taylor saying, "I'll call you later. I need to get my life organized." Taylor's phone also texts Ashley at the same time saying that everything's fine. Don't worry about me. So within minutes, Taylor's phone texts Cassandra and Ashley, like putting their minds at ease, like, "Hey, everything's fine." That's the last time anybody heard from Taylor Wright. We're going to take a small break right now. I'm going to look at your chat a little bit. And I owe Xena a couple of dog biscuits. Oh, Major Victory, did you do a super chat too? The stickers don't show up in Restream, but I can pull it up over here. How's everybody doing today? What do you think of the story so far? It's one of those stories that I know it really good in my head, and my notes are kind of stinking because I did them very quickly. So hopefully it's coming out okay. Let me see. Let's see the chat. Thank you very much for the donation, Ron. From my girls to yours, give them 2 snacks for $5. I will give Xena 2. Ava is visiting elsewhere right now, so she's not here. And then Erica, thank you very much for the super chat. So she'll get 3 total. Oh, and Parson did renewed his membership. She's getting 4 right now. I think that's everything. Am I missing anybody? I hope I'm not. Okay, let's make her big. There she is. Hey, Xena. Hi, good morning. Oh, she's so sleepy. Do you want a cookie? You have to sit up. I'll get her. Hold on. Here. She's a good girl. Ready? You missed. She missed. I'll get you another one. She missed and it went under the bed. We'll get her another one. Here we go. There she is. Thank you very much, everybody, for your generosity. I appreciate it. Xena appreciates it. When Ava's here, Ava appreciates it too. You guys keep me going. I'm telling you what. Even just you being here and hitting that subscribe button and that like button keeps me going. You don't have to do a donation. Just your love in the comment section keeps me going. Okay. That's nice, Xena. Turn off her camera for a minute. All right. Back to it. I know she was so lazy just then, wasn't she? She did not even want to sit up to get 4 dog treats. Didn't even want to sit up. Mr. Zed is letting me know that he's locked in the basement. I guess if you're locked in the basement, you'll have to stay down there for probably at least another hour, maybe 2 hours. We'll see how it goes. Okay, where's my notes? No, seriously, where's my notes? Okay, here we go. On Sunday, September 10th. So this is from the 8th to the 10th. So it was a Friday that all of this happened with the horseback riding. And I'm going to just go downtown and get a drink before I go home. All of that happened on a Friday. On Sunday, Cassandra finally calls the police. And since she had only been missing a couple of days, they were like, well, she's an adult. She can leave if she wants to. Like, you guys, she's like, they're like, you guys said that you had a fight anyway, so she might have just left. So that's fine. And she's like, yeah, you're probably right. She probably just did leave. And now Cassandra's getting pissed. She's like angry that Taylor, like, she thinks that Taylor just like went off to see this girl in Biloxi that she was cheating on her with. She's just like really ticked. And she ends up calling Ashley and says, oh, I think I might have forgot to tell you guys this part. So that box truck that Taylor borrowed from Ashley, they had never unpacked it. So it's like a box truck sitting in Cassandra's driveway with just all of Taylor's stuff in it. And Cassandra's like, hey, come get this truck and could you just store it at your work or something, because I don't want to look at it anymore. I just don't even want to look at it anymore. And Ashley does. She goes and gets the truck, puts it at her business. gets it out of the driveway for her. So, like, at this time, Cassandra's simultaneously, like, really worried about Taylor not being around and also extremely pissed because she thinks she might be in Biloxi, Mississippi, cheating on her with another woman. So, finally, on Thursday the 14th, the worry won out over the angriness, and Cassandra actually went down to the police department and filed, like, a formal missing persons report. The same day, Cassandra and Ashley went through Taylor's car because Taylor's car was still in the driveway at Cassandra's house. So they went through the car and they found 2 guns in her car. And Ashley ended up taking pictures of the guns for documentation, she said. And she offered to store those weapons at her house because she had like a safe at her house. And the local news ends up getting a hold of the report.
And no one has seen. She's a private detective, a former police officer, and a mother. And no one has seen her for more than a week. News 5's Catrice Nolan talks to police and the woman's employer about this strange disappearance.
Take a look. A 33-year-old private investigator and former police officer Taylor Wright has been missing for 8 days. The news of her disappearance is strange.
We've investigated it, and at this point in time, we don't have any reason to believe any foul play is involved.
She allegedly sent a text message to a friend saying that she had to get away for a few days.
Wright left her car and personal belongings at her home in Pensacola and hasn't been seen since.
Her vehicle was left at her house in Pensacola. All of her personal property, keepsakes, everything, was left at her house. She hasn't reached out to anyone at all.
We spoke to Wright's employer via FaceTime, and he says all of the events of her disappearance are odd.
At this point, we don't know where she's at. We don't have any other leads. We've talked to a few people that think they've seen her places, but really nothing's fallen through at this point.
But right now, no trace of the young mother of a son who just went through a divorce. And police say they aren't treating her case as a missing persons case because she left on her own will.
Well, I can't go into everything, but I can tell you that our investigators have looked into this, and we don't have
Taylor
any
Wright
reason to believe that this is nothing more than an adult that has chosen not to contact others.
For now, her family wants her to contact someone to let them know she is safe. Reporting in Pensacola, Catrice Nolan, News 5.
So as you can see, they're not even treating it like a missing persons report yet. They just think that she left on her own. But the news, they're still asking people to please call if you see her. They put out like the missing persons report and all of that, So finally, Detective Gigliotti, which is such a fun name, by the way, Gigliotti. Anyway, when I was researching this case, I just thought, like, I would definitely, if that was my maiden name, keep that name, Gigliotti. Anyway, Detectives Gigliotti and Wilhite, they're on the case now. So Detective Gigliotti calls Ashley MacArthur, obviously, because she's the last person that saw Taylor Wright. She confirmed that they were friends, they were close friends, and that they were together on the 8th of September. She said they ran some errands. They went past a house that Taylor was doing an investigation on. They ended up going to Ashley's work and her home, and they went to a farm in East Milton. So basically the same story that Ashley told Cassandra is what she ended up telling the police. This is Milton, by the way, so you can kind of see how far away that is from Pensacola. They're down here, and Milton's over here. You know how I like the maps. Then they went back to Ashley's house after they went horseback riding in Milton. And at about 5:15, Taylor got into an Uber and left, and she hasn't seen her since. At this point, the detectives still thought that, she could be missing by choice, so they're not too researching into, they're not looking into it too deeply. Whoa, that was loud. But they're still kind of poking around to see what's up. They still want to find this girl, right? A few days later, Detective Gigliotti and Wilhite go to Cassandra's home to interview her. And Cassandra voluntarily lets detectives look around her house. She tells the story that she has, which is that Ashley came to pick her up. I ended up leaving to go to my volunteer event at about 10 a.m. They were still at the house, but I know that, I was texting with Taylor back and forth till about 11:30, and then things kind of got weird. And the last text I got was saying that she needed some time and she'd contact me in a couple of days. And it's been a week and I haven't talked to her. So here's the thing. When Cassandra voluntarily let the detectives poke around her house, they found a $19,000 cashier's check in Taylor's name, along with a bunch of cash and jewelry. And this is where things start to change, because Detective Wilhite and Gigliotti are looking at this cashier's check going, if you were going to go missing voluntarily, would you not take your cash, your stacks of cash, and a $19,000 cashier's check with you? Would you just leave that here? Like, it's weird that her car was still there, but you can kind of explain that. Like, if the girl from Biloxi picked her up or something like that, maybe she wouldn't go back for her car. But $19,000 a cashier's check, and that's basically like having cash, because there's no record of that. You can cash that in anywhere, and it's not traceable. So they start really looking into it after they poke around Cassandra's house. On September 18th, the detectives go back to Ashley's house, and they audio record the interview. Now, I was going to play this interview for you guys, but I listened to it again today, and man, the audio quality on it is so bad that I don't want to torture you guys like that. So I took some notes. It's an audio recording, and there's all sorts of noise, like background noise in the audio recording. There's dogs barking, there's airplanes flying overhead. It's one point, they must be near the Air Force base, because it sounds like you can hear jets, like bombers flying over. I don't know. It was very loud. And then not only that, but the recording is a recording from open court. So it's a crappy recording playing in a giant room for the jury that's being recorded by a video, the court TV people. It was bad. I couldn't understand half of it. But anyway, I took some notes. Let's see. Okay. We'll go back to the map. Ashley goes into all the issues that Taylor had in this house visit, right? The cheating on Cassandra, her using cocaine, all of her legal problems with Jeff, the custody of her son, like the big custody battle going back and forth, the escrow that she's supposed to have that doesn't have, all of these issues. Also, she's when Jeff and Taylor were going through this divorce, in the court documents, it says something about how Taylor is not forthcoming with her money and how she makes her money and where she gets her money from. So of course, Ashley goes into all of those issues too with the police during this home visit. She said something about Taylor's dad dying under suspicious circumstances in South Florida, and she's indicating that Taylor lies all the time, and she doesn't know what's real and what's not, because she doesn't think that her dad really died or didn't die of suspicious circumstances. She tells the detectives, this is quote, she's probably just off acting like a nut, and At first, I was really worried about her, but now I think she's just playing people. It's all just a game to her. Detective Gigliotti asks Ashley to come down to the station for like a formal interview. Ashley is very cooperative and friendly. She allows the police to take a look around her home, not like a search like they did at Cassandra's house, like where they were searching through papers and stuff, but just to like go room to room to just make sure nothing's suspicious, like open doors and stuff. And Ashley's super cooperative and lets them just look around wherever they want. She makes sure to mention that she thinks that Taylor had a mental break. She tells the detectives that she let Cassandra borrow a gun because Cassandra was afraid that Taylor was going to come back and attack her. And Ashley tells detectives that Jeff keeps telling Cassandra that she needs to be afraid of Taylor and that Taylor's erratic and that you can't predict crazy is one of the things she says. Ashley subsequently went to the police station for that in-person interview, and during the interview, she's asked to do she goes over the whole story again, like with the running the errands, the running past the house that Taylor was doing the insurance investigation on, and ending up at that horse farm riding horses and the Uber, the whole thing. She goes through the whole thing again. And she's very, I don't know if you've ever watched these body language people, like YouTube people, but her body language is very open. She's leaning forward. She seems like she's telling the truth if you just do the body language expert people. But, and it's a big but, during this police interview, the police asked if they could have Ashley's phone to do a forensic examination of your phone. Can we have your phone for a couple of days? We're going to download everything and then we'll get it back to you. She agrees because she's very agreeable. She's a very helpful girl. But as soon as that happens, her body language changes and she's now closed off and hasn't been on her phone the whole time. All of a sudden she's got her phone in her hand and she's messing around with it and she's she's doing this and doing that. And one of the interviews that I watched with Detective Wilhite, the person asks him, do you think she was deleting something? And he's like, I didn't say that, but I don't know if she was or not. But you could tell that the detective thought that she was deleting stuff on her phone, which, by the way, is not going to help. Oh, did I forget to tell you guys? I forgot to tell you guys, Ashley used to be a CSI, like crime scene analyst worker person for the Pensacola Police Department. So she should know that you can't delete stuff off of your phone. They can still find all of that stuff. Like, the only way to do that is to not only delete it, to throw your phone in the ocean and get a new SIM card and a new phone and a new account under a different name. There's no other way. They can see everything. Even in 2017, they could see everything. Anyway, it was very notable, her demeanor change when they asked to see the phone. Ashley ends up, so the interview ends, she gives him the phone, the interview ends, and Ashley ends up calling the detectives several times, like many times, checking in with them to say, hey, how's it doing? Or calling and saying, oh, I forgot this little tidbit of information, just over and over and over again. Like, too much. It came out during one of these phone conversations that Ashley's family owned land north of Pensacola. And they asked Ashley, hey, what's the address to that property that your family owns? It's like 20-something acres. I think it's 27. I didn't put it in my notes. Don't quote me on that. That's just from my brain. But I think it's 27 acres. I remember thinking, man, I wish I had 27 acres somewhere. Anyway, her family owns a bunch of land north of Pensacola. And they say, hey, Ash, what's the address to that property that your family owns? And she says, I don't know. And they say, hey, what road is it on at least? And she says, I don't know what road's on, but I promise you, I will get back to you. and I'll let you know the address. What is... Okay, so the detectives are like kind of thrown off by her now. They're like, she's acting super weird. What's going on? What's going on with this money? They start looking into Taylor's bank accounts and they see lots of weird activity. Where did my co-host go? She's gone. Okay. No more super chats, I guess. Zena's gone. Anyway, they start looking into the bank accounts and they're like, it's so weird because this account gets opened up with a joint account with Ashley and then it gets closed right away. What's happening here? We'll play a little bit of the testimony. This is Officer Gigliotti, and we're going to hear him talk about the financials that he runs into. Maybe we will.
You'll just take a look at that and see if you recognize it.
I do.
And is that a photograph of the cashier's check you found at Cassandra Waller's on September 18th, 2017?
It is.
So at this time, I'd move State 17 in evidence.
Okay. Proceed to State 17.
Judge, and if I could just publish for the record, I'll just turn the lights on.
Okay. You may publish.
This is State's Exhibit number 17. And who is it made out to?
The victim, Taylor Wright.
Okay, and what is the date?
It's dated July 25th, 2017.
Now, which bank issued that cashier's check?
Navy Federal Credit Union.
Okay. And did you have a subpoena issued for Taylor Wright's Navy Federal bank accounts?
We did.
And did you receive her bank statements for June, July, and August of 2017?
We did.
Did you review those records upon receipt?
Yes.
Okay. There's no objection. The state would move in States 18 and 19.
They'll be received to States 18 and 19.
What do the, do you need these or do you have copies?
Probably quicker to look at yours.
What does, what do Taylor Wright's records show in June, July, and August?
Just showed that there was a substantial amount of money in the account, that it was being moved around. There was withdrawals, deposits.
How much?
So at one point it shows that there was $251,000 credit in there in the account, and that there were withdrawals of smaller amounts, 400 and 200, and then it increases in July, looks like on the 13th, to a looks like a $3,000 payment. There's an $83,000 transfer. On the 18th of July, it looks like a withdrawal by check for $83,000. A deposit of $68,000, leaving a difference of, it looks like 15 grand. Another withdrawal by check for $34,000, which emptied the account, leaving $5 in the account on July 22nd.
On July what?
July 22nd.
Okay. After September 18th, when you went to Miss MacArthur's home and then when you interviewed her at the police station, did you hear from her after September
Yes.
18th when you went to... How did those contacts take place?
Most of them were phone calls.
Uh-oh. We'll see if it fixes itself. We might have to make it small. It's because I'm trying to do too much. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Okay, and who called who?
It's fixed. It's fixed.
She would call me and I would return her call for the most part. There was a couple times where I answered her call.
Okay, what was the basic nature of those conversations?
Sure. So Ashley was just contacting me to check up on the case for the most part.
Okay. And did you record those phone calls?
I did.
Okay. And have you reviewed them before your testimony today?
I have.
By stipulation of the state and the defense, the state will move in evidence states 20, 21, and 22. And for the record, states 20 is a phone conversation on September 24th, 2017. States Exhibit 21 is a phone call on September 28th, 2017. And states 22 is a phone call on October 2nd, 2017.
All right, they'll be received as states 21, 22, 20, 21, and 22. Yes.
On the September 24th phone call, what was the...
These are all these phone calls where Ashley keeps calling the detective. And it's almost like she's trying to just figure out where they are in the investigation. She thinks she's telling exactly what happened the exact same way every time. And the cops are just like not buying it because she insisted on calling them over and over and over again.
I mean, what stood out to you during that phone conversation with Ms. MacArthur?
Sure. So primarily the conversation again was her calling and checking up on the case, but Ashley MacArthur referenced believing that Taylor was in Destin a lot. Several statements in the phone call with some reference to Destin.
Believing that Taylor was in Destin?
Yes.
Okay. And then on the September 28th phone call, what stood out to you in that phone call?
Again, Ashley MacArthur called about updates on the case.
Anything else significant or just updates?
I want to say she may have mentioned in that one about hospital stay or something she believed Taylor may have been in. I could be mixing them up, but for me to check hospitals, she stated she wasn't going to give away any of the victim's property that she had.
Okay. On October 2nd, what stood out to you during that phone call?
Sure. Again, another phone call from MacArthur.
Yes, this is Gigliotti. He is the lead detective in this case.
She stated that one of the questions I asked was that if Taylor owed anyone money or if anyone owed Taylor money, and Ashley stated no.
Okay. Did Ms. MacArthur mention anything about a treatment facility?
Yes, at some point about a rehab, maybe some kind of hospital or something, a treatment facility, one of these calls.
Okay. Now, in the September 28th call, I believe Ms. MacArthur says something about Zach being annoyed that you guys were looking into his purchases or something.
Yes.
Okay, and what was that about?
So we worked every person that came along that we felt be helpful. We tracked down Zach's purchases, and specifically on the 8th. And one of the locations that we contacted notified him that we were looking into his purchases.
Okay. Was he a little irritated about that, according to Ms. MacArthur?
Certainly.
Okay. And were you provided a copy of a receipt with Mr. MacArthur's name and account information so that you could track those purchases?
Yes.
Showing you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 23.
Yes.
Let's take a look at that. Was that the receipt that you were provided with Mr. MacArthur's bank information and his name to help you find where he was on the 8th?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, I move States 23 into evidence.
I'm sorry.
No objection, Your Honor.
Received as 23.
What places were you able to place him at on the 8th?
So I recall there being a charge at a seafood restaurant.
Okay.
There was, I believe, 2 charges at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Okay, so basically what he's going into is that Jeff's got a solid alibi. Like, they go through his bank statements and he is in Jacksonville, North Carolina. He's not even there. He's good because obviously the top 3 suspects are the person who last saw her alive, which is, or saw her, Ashley MacArthur, and then Cassandra just found out that she's being cheated on by Taylor, and then the ex-husband who there's this big court battle with. So those are the top 3 suspects. Now, Cassandra's alibi checks out because she was doing that volunteer work at the school, remember? And then that was Jeff's. They went through his bank statements and he went to the sporting goods store. He went out to a seafood restaurant in a totally different state. He's cool too. Here's where we're at. Oh, I skipped ahead too much. We'll go back to the map. We'll put the map back on the screen for now. So what he's going over there is that different amounts of money were withdrawn from that account in cashier's checks, cash, money transfers. Like I said before, Taylor had given Ashley one of those cashier's checks in the amount of $34,000 for her to put into the Wells Fargo safety deposit box. Ashley added Taylor to one of the bank accounts. Ashley had several different bank accounts, and the reason being is she owns her, she was given her family's business. So she owns a business. So she's got business accounts, she's got personal accounts. One of these accounts, she added Taylor to one of these accounts. And then a couple of days later, she deposits a $34,000 cashier's check in Taylor's name to that account. A few days after that, she removes Taylor's name from that account. So now it's not in a cashier's check anymore. It is in cash in her bank account now. Turns out that Ashley was not only married, but she was also having an affair with the owner of a place called Sticks Billiards. Ashley ended up buying this owner of Sticks Billiards as a gift a $30,000 boat, along with an $8,000 motorcycle. She also was paying a bunch of bills for his business, as well as buying supplies. Like, she would be hanging out at the Sticks Billiards, and his employees would go to her and say, "Hey, we need paper towels for the bathroom." And she would just go to the Sam's Club and purchase the supplies for the billiards place. Now, we're going to get into a little bit of Ashley's background. She has a history of fraud. So as these detectives are, this is her business, by the way. It's Pensacola Automatic Amusement. And what they did was they owned like the pool tables and like the trivia machines and jukeboxes and stuff that you see in bars a lot. They own those, right? And they would put them in different bars and restaurants and different businesses around, around the Pensacola area. And every time you would pay $1 for the jukebox, 50% of that would go to Ashley's company, and the other 50% of it is supposed to go to the place, the bar, or whatever you're in is. Excuse me. I couldn't get to the mute button, so I just moved the mic. Sorry about that. It came out in the investigation that she was stealing money for many of these businesses that her company, Pensacola Automatic Amusement, did business with. There were 3 ways that you could pay for like the pool tables and the jukeboxes and the other games or whatever. And it was either by cash, by credit card, or there was an app that you could download and like purchase, songs or pool games or whatever there. The money's supposed to be split 50-50 with the business. But there's this business called Azalea Lounge that was doing some accounting of their own and figured out that Ashley was only giving them 50% of the cash and keeping all of the credit card transactions and app transactions 100% for herself, which is not the agreement and is kind of fraudulent when they're supposed to be getting it 50-50. This is in June of 2017, 3 months before Taylor went missing. They were supposed to have a meeting with Ashley. This Azalea Lounge people were supposed to have a meeting with Ashley to go over her records, where she was going to explain to them why they got the amount that they got and that everything's cool. Don't call the police, by the way, because everything's cool. Everything's cool, guys. I'm going to come by and I'm going to show you my records and you're going to see that everything's cool. Please, please don't call the police. The day before the meeting, Ashley leaves out of her little business here and she forgets to set the alarm. It happens. I've forgotten to set an alarm before. Usually nothing happens when that you forget. You just forgot. She forgot. At 3:35 a.m. the next morning, 8 alarms simultaneously went off. The smoke detector fire alarms. The alarm company tried to call Ashley, but she didn't answer the phone. And then the next person on the list is Ashley's mom. Ashley's mom did answer the phone at 3:30 in the morning and told the alarm company, it's probably a false alarm. Don't worry about it. Just don't send the police. Everything's fine. Because they would get false alarms every now and again, which anybody who has an alarm knows that you get false alarms every now and again. She was probably half asleep and didn't know what was happening anyway. The next morning, Ashley goes to her office to pick up the paperwork to go over to Azalea Lounge to show them, look, guys, everything's okay. Don't call the police. Don't call the police, guys. Everything's fine. She goes there to pick up the paperwork. And it turns out the only part of her business that burned was the office where the paperwork was stored. Coincidence, right? Total coincidence. Turned out when they did a little further digging, she was not only stealing money from the Azalea Lounge, but stealing money from all of these businesses all over Escambia County. The fire people, the fire department does an investigation when there's a fire like that, and the canine fire dog alerted to different areas of the business. Let me read to you what it says here. It was at the bottom here. Okay. A forensic fire investigator used a canine to examine the business to find points where the fire accelerated and was the strongest. According to the report, the canine alerted to several areas as points of origin for the fire, and the investigator told MacArthur about some of those points, but not all of them. MacArthur then allegedly told the investigator the fire had started in another area, which was one of the spots that the canine had alerted to, but the investigator intentionally did not tell MacArthur about. The portion of the building that was burned contained the financial records pertaining to the theft allegations between MacArthur and the Azalea Lounge, according to court documents. So she was charged with this fire, but after everything else that happened, they just sort of let this case go, which I wish that they wouldn't do that, because if something happens with an appeal or something wonky with the courts, I always like them to have another charge to hang their hats on when you're dealing with somebody like this. Personally, that's just me. Okay, back to the main plot of the story. We got a little sidetrack there, but I wanted you to know who this person was. Got to get back to Taylor. I almost started talking while I was muted, but I caught myself that time. I caught myself. I'm getting better at this. I'm not great, but I'm getting better. Okay. Remember the phone that Detective Gigliotti and Wilhite got from Ashley? Okay, so they looked at the cell towers from the day that Taylor went missing. This is where it gets intense. Put this up. This is the cell towers. They looked at the cell towers from the day that Taylor went missing, and neither she nor Taylor were anywhere near that farm in East Milton. Strange, right? Remember, they were horseback riding? Neither of their phones were horseback riding. Funny that. Both phones were somewhere north of Pensacola, right where Ashley's family owned property. The one that Ashley could not remember the address of. Turns out it was on Britt Road. Britt Road is Ashley's family's name. It's her maiden name. If my family owned property and it was my mother's maiden name, the name of the road, or my maiden name, the name of the road, you'd think I would be able to just rattle off the name of the road that the property is on. Turns out her family had owned that property, the 20-something acres, for 40 years, and the road that was put in to access the property was named after them. So the detectives, once they found this in the property records, were kind of like, I think we need to check out that property, since the cell phone towers were picking up that both Taylor and Ashley's phones were there. Not only were they there together, they traveled together all weekend. They were up at that property north of the city. They went back to Ashley's house together. They went to the Sticks Billiards together. They even went to the Home Depot, where Ashley was seen on camera the next day buying quick-dry cement and potting soil.
And what do we see of interest here?
This is a black Jeep Wrangler pulling into the parking lot.
Let us know when we see something.
Yes, ma'am. Right here you will see Ashley MacArthur, an employee worker from Home Depot, coming back to the self-checkout.
Since there's not a timestamp, do you remember the date and time of this? How about if I show you the receipt?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, if I could approach with state 76.
You may
Approach.
It is September 9th, 2017 at 1:07 p.m.
So that's the day after.
Here's another angle. You can see the contents of the cart. Yeah, 2 bags of potting soil and the bags of cement
And is that Miss MacArthur to your left?
right here. And she pays with cash.
Of course she does. Okay, that's enough Home Depot. That's enough Home Depot. So yeah, potting soil and quick set cement. Two days before Taylor disappeared. This is getting off on another little side tangent. But I want to tell you this part of the story. So 2 days before Taylor disappeared. So this is on the 6th at night. Thanks for coming by, Arvolt. I appreciate you. You guys check out the monthly Rumble. It's a Rumble only channel. Or sorry, weekly Rumble. My bad. It looks like they're going to have Jonathan Corey on tomorrow. That ought to be a great show. I will find a link when I play the next video for you and put it in the chat. So 2 days before, the 6th in the evening, Ashley is hanging out at one of her local bars that she hangs out at a lot. Now, keep in mind, all of her businesses with bars, so she knows all of the bar people. She tells a friend from one of these bars that Taylor is such a bad person, it'd just be better if she wasn't around. And, you know, the best way to get rid of her would be to put a bunch of cocaine in her drink, like in a beer, something with a strong flavor so she can't taste it, which I don't know if you've ever tasted cocaine, but you can definitely taste it. Not that I would know. I've heard that you can taste it. So her idea is she's going to go buy $200 worth of cocaine and she's going to put it into Taylor's beer, and Taylor's going to have an overdose and all of her problems will be done. So she tells this friend, like, this is her plan. And the friend's like, oh, well, I know where to get $200 worth of cocaine. Let's go. And they go to a different bar and they buy $200 worth of cocaine. I don't know how much cocaine that is, but I'm sure it's enough to kill somebody. Especially somebody who doesn't do cocaine a lot. Taylor had done cocaine, but just a couple of times. She had been experimenting with it. She was still new to that scene. So $200 worth probably would have killed her. The morning, they're following the cell phone around. The reason I tell you that is to tell you this, is that they're following the cell phones around that are together. And one of the stops they make is at a convenience store. And it's like 10 in the morning at the time. And the thing that she buys at the convenience store is a beer and like another drink. And the detectives are like, why did you buy a beer? And she's like, Taylor wanted a beer. And she's like, well, that's kind of weird that early in the morning. And she's like, yeah, I thought so too. And Taylor just said, well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, which is weird. Come on, computer, don't fail me now. I should have just let it play. Oh, well.
Screen up there is the, sorry. Let's see.
At the top of the screen, I'm sorry.
The top of the screen up there is the vehicle that Miss MacArthur was driving at the gas pump. Then it's showing her exiting the vehicle and walking into the store.
Can you read the date and time right here?
Yes, September 8th, 2017, 11:48 a.m. Miss MacArthur in a white shirt inside the store. It appears she picked up a beverage, another item, and then walked to the register to check out.
She gets one of the cups in the fountain drink section. I'm going to regret this, but I'm going to skip ahead. I know I'm going to regret it. So she ends up telling this friend the day after Taylor went missing that, oh, so I did that thing with the cocaine, but Taylor tasted it and she said it tasted bad and she spit it out and didn't drink it. Well, no, duh, it tasted bad. Come on. Of course it tasted bad. You can see her bringing it back to the car where Taylor's in the car, by the way. Is this? Okay. Back to the, her phone also went back to the farm the next morning, like super early in the morning. And I just want to show you guys how far away Milton is. This is where she allegedly went horseback riding. And this is where the farm is, way over here. On Britt Road. And this is the property. So this is Britt Road, and this is the property. Let's see. That's better. It's too quiet. My brain is too quiet otherwise. By the way, her cousin lived at this farm because he was going to school in the Pensacola area. Her aunt and uncle who owned this land actually lived in Gainesville, but they still had this property and maintained it. Their son lived at this property because he was going to school in Pensacola, and he testified in the trial that he did not see Ashley on that Friday, the day that Taylor went missing. But of course, he was in class during the day, so of course he wouldn't have been home at the time that she was there. He did say that the very next morning that she ended up stopping by at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning. He thought it was very unusual because she's not usually even awake that early, because she, does business with all these bars, so she works very late at night. So she ended up texting him saying, "Hey, I'm here." And his response was like, "Yeah, right." Because he just didn't even believe that she was. It was just very, he just thought it was very strange. She ended up staying and visiting with him for about an hour and then left. Just like a random visit. The cell phone records, by the way, place her at the farm at 6:30 a.m., not 8:30 or 9 o'clock a.m. So for 2 hours, she's on this property somewhere before she ends up going to the house. Like, this is a trailer that, maybe it's this one. But anyway, he lives over here, and she's somewhere else on this property for 2 hours. Her phone and Taylor's phone even went to Alabama with her that weekend. Or went to Alabama together. Their phones went together anyway, to a wedding that Ashley had attended. So once they get all of these phone record stuff, they want to do a search warrant. They want to do it bad. They want to do many search warrants. They want to do a search warrant on this acreage up here north of Pensacola on Britt Road, but they want to do it at the same time as the search warrant that they get for her house and for her business. So they want to do all of these search warrants, and they want to hit them all at the same time, which a lot of times they do when they're doing a case like this, because they don't want, if there is a conspiracy where there's many people involved, they want to make sure that people aren't tipping other people off and destroying evidence and stuff like that. So they ask Ashley to come back in. "Hey, Ash, old buddy, old pal, you've been calling us all the time. Do you want to come back in and talk to us?" And she does, because she's so helpful. So she goes back into the police station to talk with them again. And when she's in the police station, they end up executing the warrants, those 3 search warrants. And while they're on the property, next to this barn here, on this wood line, there's a fence right in this wood line. And next to the fence, they end up finding the skeleton of a human. And they obviously don't know yet that it's Taylor Wright, but a necklace that Taylor is known to wear all the time is around the skeleton. So they're pretty sure it's Taylor. They just can't quite confirm it yet. Obviously, they have to do their forensics testing and all that stuff. So she's officially arrested. Ashley MacArthur has been indicted for the first-degree murder and the death of former private investigator Taylor Wright. Wright was last seen September 8th with MacArthur and was reported missing on September 14th. After repeated attempts to contact and locate her were unsuccessful, Wright's body was found on October 19th, close to the property belonging to MacArthur's family. Police say motive behind the killing was money. MacArthur is scheduled for an arraignment on Thursday. If convicted, MacArthur could spend the rest of her life in prison. Now, let's go over what they found on the property. This isn't interesting. This is way more interesting than the Home Depot surveillance video, I promise.
They publish.
Little trigger warning, when they get to the end, like towards the end of these photos that they're going to go through, they do show the skeleton. So if that's going to bother you, give it a few minutes.
All right, Ms. Emsweiler, I am showing you State's Exhibit number 44. This is going to be awkward because you're going to have to turn behind you but talk in the microphone.
That's the trailer where the cousin lives. He's living in this trailer while he's going to college in Pensacola.
And you can do it, that microphone bends, so you can pull it to you. You can't, yes, it bends, so you can't extract it, but you can pull it towards you. Okay.
This is State's 44. What does this photo show?
This is a photograph of the trailer on the property at 2201 Britt Road. This is the south side of the trailer.
This is State's Exhibit 45.
This is a photograph of the kitchen inside the trailer.
State's Exhibit 46.
Photograph of the living room area inside the trailer.
State's Exhibit 47.
This is a photograph of the hallway in the trailer. It ran along the north side.
This is State's Exhibit 48.
This is a photograph of the north side and east side of the red barn that was on the property.
This is State's 49.
This is a photograph of the stables on the east side of the barn.
State's Exhibit 50.
A photograph of the east side of the barn looking straight at it.
And this was this like some type of corral or something over here?
Yes, there were several fenced-in areas, so I believe this was part of a fenced-in area that was on the property.
This is State's 51.
This is a door that led into a small tool room, which was on the bottom floor of the barn.
Small pool room?
Yes, a tool room.
Oh, tool, I'm sorry.
This is State's 52.
This would be the north wall of the tool room.
And did you do anything with these garments right here?
Yes, I searched this room with luminol, which is a search tool for suspected blood, and luminescence showed up on the yellow rain jacket, so I collected it as an item of evidence.
This is State's Exhibit 53.
This is one of the stables in the barn.
State's 54.
And then a photograph of the interior of the stable.
State's 55.
Another photograph of one of the stables in the barn.
State's 56.
This is a photograph of the south side of the barn.
State's 57.
And this is the south side and west side of the barn.
State's 58.
So there's an opening that was on the north side of the barn in between the two sets of stables.
State's 59.
These are items that were located inside the opening that we just saw in the previous photograph, and I collected these items as items of evidence.
And what is this right here?
I believe those were possibly straps for a hammock.
Remember that the hammock comes into play in a minute.
This is State's 60. What does this show?
This is a photograph facing south, showing the west side of the barn.
And is this a law enforcement personnel over here?
Yes, it is.
This is State's Exhibit 61.
We're about to get into the actual crime scene photos, so if that's going to bother you, maybe step away for 5 minutes.
So this is a photograph. You can see the west side of the barn, and then there's a fence that ran along the west side of the property.
This is State's Exhibit 62.
Another close-up photograph of the fence along the west side of the property, and the remains were located in the wooded area over here.
This is State's 63.
So a close-up photograph of where the remains were located. These pieces right here were concrete.
State's 65.
Another photograph of the remains in the wooded area and the pieces of concrete.
Sorry, what was that 64 by?
64.
Thank you.
This is state 65.
This is a photograph taken from the west side of the fence on the property facing
Hang on a
north.
sec. Hang on a sec. Do you need me to take that light down? I wanted Ms. Jensen to be able to see, but it's more important that you see, so
Oh, thanks.
I'll just put it like that. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
This again is state 65.
So this is a photograph taken from the west side of the fence that ran along the west side of the property, and this is looking facing north.
And did the end of the fence stop right about here?
Yeah, right about there you were able to walk around to enter this area.
And then the trailer would have been over here to the right?
Yes, the trailer would have been located over in this area.
This is State's Exhibit 66.
This is a close-up of the remains. You can see items, or you can see pieces of concrete, some soil, and then this beige over here is the skull.
State 67.
Another closer-up photograph, concrete, soil, and this beige part is the skull.
State 68.
Another photograph of the remains. This is after some of the pieces of concrete have been pulled back. You can see a dark covering that was also in the area. This was a hammock. And then you can see the skull, and this brown is suspected hair.
And is this after the limbs and some debris on top were removed?
Yes, we cleared brushes and shrubs and larger items from the area to gain better access to the remains.
This is State 69.
This is an overall photograph after a lot of the area had been cleared.
State 70.
This is a photograph of the remains. More of the area had been cleared and pieces of concrete have been pulled back.
State 71.
This is a photograph of the remains after the pieces of concrete have been removed. The skull is up here with suspected hair, and then this dark blue item is the hammock.
State 72.
Closer-up photograph of the skull. You can start to see a t-shirt, and the hammock has been pulled back some.
This is State 73.
This is a photograph of a necklace that was located around what essentially would be the neck. It was located right below the skull.
This is State 74.
It's a photograph of the brand of hammock that it was. So this is actually upside down. It was ENO.
This is State 75.
It's a photograph of the remains after the hammock has been removed.
So that's what they found at the farm. That is tough to watch, even though I didn't personally know Taylor. I feel like if I had known Taylor, we would have gotten along great. Mainly because she was kind of a badass, and I like those kind of people, right? She liked to shoot guns. She was not somebody to mess with, and I generally get along with people like that. We have a lot in common. We have a lot not in common, but we also have a lot in common. And you can see Ashley here not reacting at all to it. If this is somebody that I knew in my real life and I was innocent of this crime, I don't think I could look at those photos and not have a physical, emotional reaction to it. Like I said, I've seen this before a couple of times, and I'm still fighting back tears of how this woman's life ended up buried under concrete and potting soil behind a shed on somebody's property. Okay, sorry.
And a tragic update out of Escambia County, Florida tonight. The body of a private investigator missing for more than a month has been found, discovered in a wooded area in Cantonment.
News 5's Mary Smith has been on the case of Taylor Wright and tells you what investigators are saying.
Yeah, investigators aren't saying much more than what they already tweeted out earlier today on the Escambia County Sheriff's Office Twitter page, saying that that body they found around noon today is believed to be that of Taylor Wright. They also arrested Ashley MacArthur for first-degree premeditated murder. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office tweeted that Wright's body was found again around noon today off Britt Road in Cantonment. It also tweeted that Ashley MacArthur was arrested for first-degree premeditated homicide. The Sheriff's Office is working with Pensacola police since Wright was a Pensacola resident and her roommate reported her missing in the beginning of September. Police also say her belongings were found at her apartment. Wright was a former police officer turned private investigator. Now, I have reached out to the Escambia County Sheriff's Office for more information this evening, but they said they are not releasing it at this time. Everything that they are willing to release to the public has been tweeted out on Twitter. Reporting in Pensacola, Mary Smith, News 5.
I find it odd
Totally
that
on
the
News 5.
police department is releasing information via Twitter, but I guess that's the day and age we live in, right? um, you know. Yes, might be Overruled. You're correct. Guns and drugs, of course I'd get along with her. Of course I would. No, but seriously though, if she was not a lesbian, like that's really the only thing I don't have in common with her, right? Like she was I don't know. She seems like somebody I'd get along with is all I'm saying. And I know that she was a good person. I know she's had trouble and has done some things in her life that weren't good, like hiding the money from her husband and all of that stuff that we went into earlier. But I personally know somebody who personally knew her, and I believe him when he tells me she was an awesome chick and she was good at her job, and that we would have gotten along, you know? So that's where I'm at with it. They found Taylor wrapped in a hammock buried under cement and potting soil along a fence line in a wooded area on the west side of the property. Ashley's aunt later said in court that she had taken down that exact hammock earlier that year in preparation for a wedding that was going to be held on the property, and she had wrapped it up and stored it underneath a bench that was underneath that overhang on that side of the barn. There was a bench there, and she had tucked it up under there to store it for the wedding that was coming up there.
Is underway in the murder trial of Ashley MacArthur.
Whoa. Let's try that
Happening
again.
right now, jury selection is underway in the murder trial of Ashley MacArthur. She's accused of murdering Pensacola private investigator Taylor Wright. Wright was reported missing in September of 2017. Her body found the next month on private property belonging to MacArthur's family. We will keep you posted throughout the trial.
That was short but sweet. So yeah, I went to trial. And in between, I should have done it. This should have been in a different order, but in between her arrest and the trial, she got bonded out, which is crazy. First of all, she was initially charged with second-degree murder, and then they gave all the evidence to the grand jury, and the grand jury said, no, first-degree murder, please. Like, no second degree. This is obviously planned, especially with that cocaine plot that didn't go well, and all of the cover-up and all of that. It was obviously planned ahead of time. Don't forget, you don't have to plan a murder way in advance. You just have to plan it even 5 minutes in advance. But this was, she drove her up there. Anyway, the fact that they reduced her bond from $1 million to $400,000, her family put up the bail. And this is the Justice for Taylor Wright Facebook page. And it says here, I'm angry and baffled beyond words. This monster, who they let out on bond while facing murder charges, now arrested for arson, still out on bond. What judge in their right mind would do this? I don't know. But yeah, this is the judge that has released the monster Ashley MacArthur on a $400,000 bail. If you don't agree with her, help by writing, and they have an address here for the court. Jan Shackelford is the name of the judge, by the way. So the trial goes. We watched some clips of the trial. You saw that. Oh, I forgot to tell. Okay. Sorry. So there was conditions to her release, her bond release, right? And one of the conditions is that she had to stay with her mom, not with her husband. Let's put Ashley's picture up there while we're talking. So one of the conditions of her bond was that she had to stay with her mom. She violated her conditions of release at least 9 times that they know of. She stayed in the house with her husband. The neighbors saw her in the front yard sunbathing. Why? First of all, who sunbathes in their front yard? I'd like to know. That seems a little weird. She even was granted permission to travel to Alabama after one of her husband's friends, who was shot in the line of duty, needed a kidney transplant. So she asked the court if she could leave the state to go see if she could test to see if she could donate a kidney to this guy, which she didn't do. Like, I don't know if she was a match or not, but anyway, it goes to trial. There's a 4-day trial. You can watch the entire thing on the Law and Crime Network if you would like to. The entire, like they have the whole thing start to finish. It's very interesting if you're into that sort of thing. I, for one, am into that sort of thing. So, but she was found guilty.
We have breaking news out of Northwest Florida. Jury has reached a verdict in the trial of a woman accused of killing a private investigator in Pensacola 2 years ago. Ashley MacArthur found guilty about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Cody Long was in the courtroom when that verdict was read, and he joins us now with more. Cody, on the emotional reaction to that jury decision.
Yeah, Peter, the courtroom was filled mostly with the family and friends of that victim, Taylor Wright. And when that verdict was read here this afternoon, the tears just started flowing. After about 2 hours of deliberation, the jury found Ashley MacArthur guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. MacArthur shot Taylor Wright in the head and buried her body on family members' property back in September of 2017. This was on the day that she was scheduled to take Taylor Wright to the bank to get some money out of a joint account that they had. It was a long week for the jury, listening to video and audio evidence and witness testimony. I talked to Taylor's aunt, Joan Huskins, just a few minutes after the guilty verdict.
Ashley MacArthur ruined many families and many lives. Her own family, our family, friends' family. There were no winners today. There was maybe justice, but no winners. I mean, it doesn't make me feel better that she'll be in jail for the rest of her life. A little better, but not really. I mean, it's not going to change what happened.
To adjudicate you guilty.
And just after the verdict, MacArthur was sentenced and fingerprinted. She will serve life in prison with no possibility of parole. Live in Pensacola, Cody Long.
Okay, I'm going to play the, this is 15 minutes and then we'll be done. But if anybody wants to talk about the case or join me to watch the verdict, the reading of the verdict and the sentencing, I put the link in the chat. You're welcome. Not you're welcome, like, thank you, you're welcome. Like, you are welcome to join me. I'll pop it in there one more time if you want to come up. Let's put that there. Bam. And let's watch the sentencing.
Circuit Court is reconvened. You may be seated. Maintain order.
All right, we're back on the record. State of Florida versus Ashley MacArthur, 17 CF 5844. Defendant is present with counsel. Assistant State Attorney is present. My understanding is we have a verdict. Anything from the state? Anything, Mr. Barry Barras?
No, Your Honor.
John Barras?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Let me talk to everybody in the audience. Somebody out there is going to be unhappy. I don't know what the verdict is. But if there are people here, I know there are some family members and friends for Ms. MacArthur, and presume that there are family members and friends for Taylor Wright. And I don't know, as I said, we're going to know in 5 minutes or less what the verdict is. But let's talk about your reactions. You may not be happy, but it's not a complete surprise whatever the verdict is. If there is anyone who is going to audibly react, then you need to go ahead and quietly step out now. You need to assume that it's the verdict you do not want. And if you think you would react, you need to step out now. I do not want this jury, who has been, as far as I can tell, a tremendous jury as far as attention and their willingness to serve and being on time, to feel any pressure from reactions from people in the crowd. Not to mention, I have the power of contempt over you. And that's not my goal today, is to hold people in contempt.
This judge is like, don't make me hold you in contempt, saying it as if she's gonna, don't make me stop this car. Don't make me pull over. Don't make me hold you in contempt.
But I do not want
She'll do
you
it
reacting.
too. She will do it.
Once you hear the verdict, if you decide you might be getting emotional, then you can quietly get up and quietly leave. Don't slam any doors. Don't outburst right outside the door. Does everybody understand the rules? This is very important. Okay. Having said that, let's bring the jury in. Do you have a pen, Renee? All right, and for everybody may have a seat, and for the record, defendant is present with counsel, assistant state attorney is present. Are you Mr.? No. Who's my foreperson? Who's got the? Mr. Okay, thank you, sir. Mr., were y'all able to reach a verdict?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all I want you to do is to hand it to court security, okay? Thank you.
Come on, internet, don't fail me now. We're so close. I gotta turn off Rumble.
I'm going to hand it to the clerk to publish.
Yes. In the Circuit Court in and for Escambia County, Florida, State of Florida versus Ashley Britt MacArthur, case number 1717CF005844A. Verdict as to the charge in count 1, we the jury find the defendant Ashley MacArthur guilty of first-degree premeditated murder with a firearm as charged in the indictment. So say we all. David A. Faust, foreperson, dated August 30th, 2019.
Mr. Barry Barassa, do you want the clerk to poll the jury? All right, Renee's going to ask y'all each a question, okay?
Is this your individual verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Is this your verdict?
If you see this person right behind her, this is Cass. This is Cassandra. This is Cass. This was we talked about her earlier, the girlfriend that she lived with, and the one who did the missing persons report. And you can see that she's having a difficult time holding it together. Ashley over here doesn't look like she gives a crap. She's rolling her eyes already.
Yes, it is. Is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
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 Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I always thank my juries, but I've been praising you all week, and that's sincere. I made a big deal on Monday about jury duty being service to your country, and it really is. Y'all came in on Monday, thought you might or might not be picked. The next thing you know, Monday afternoon, you're in a 5-day trial. I appreciate the fact that every day, 15 people got here early or on time so we could start on time. I appreciate the fact that y'all took notes and paid close attention. When I asked you one night if we could stay past 6, you were willing to do it so that we could stay on track. And I appreciate the careful deliberation you gave to the case. So you really have been an outstanding jury, and your participation does you credit. And I mean, like I said, this is civil service. This is serving your country. And it's one of, I've said, two most important duties that you can perform in peacetime. And we couldn't have done it without you. It's been a difficult case, and y'all kept a good attitude throughout. A couple things, and I'm going to let y'all go. Jury, court security is going to see y'all to your cars. This does count as your jury service for at least a year. So if we call you or write you, and it's been less than a year, then you can call back and say you were with me and remind them, and you don't have to be here. Let's talk about some of the right that you have not to talk about the case. No one can make you talk about this case or your thoughts and impressions or what you said or anything. You're free now to go home, and you're free now if you want to talk about the case, you can. If you want to go to live streaming sites or Google anything, you're released from all of that. That's up to you. If you choose, that's your choice, but no one can make you. And if you choose to say nothing, that's fine. I do always reintroduce the attorneys because I occasionally, when I was a practicing attorney, would have a juror call me, and I found what they had to say helpful. If you want to, if you should bump into the attorneys somewhere out in public, they would never come to you, other than they might wave or something, but they would never come up to you and try to ask you questions or put you under pressure. But if you want to reach out, you can. Bridget Jensen works for Bill Edens, your elected state attorney. Bill Edens' number is in the blue pages. Barry Barosset works for, or is the name person in Barosset and Keene. They have a big house on 9th Avenue that's their business. John Barosset, his son, I believe, is on Government Street, has his own law firm. So if you want to, you can. At any rate, thank you, and that's mostly what I can say. I told you I felt like you were my people. You have been my people, and I'm going to get y'all checked out. I want y'all to be safe out there and keep monitoring the storm if it should come into the Gulf. I hope that another day, another time, in a year or two, I might see one or two of you again on another case. But for today, you are free to go. Thank you. Everybody can have a seat. Ms. Jensen, any reason we cannot move to sentencing?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Barry Barosset.
Is it just me, or if you were on this jury, would you not want to stay for the sentencing? Like, I know I'm released, but can I go into the gallery and just watch the rest of this thing? There's 5 minutes left. I've been here the whole time. Personally, I would want to do that.
No, Your Honor, there's only one sentence before you can impose.
Okay. Ms. Jensen, anything you want to say before I impose sentence?
Judge, I do have the aunt of Taylor Wright that would like to be heard before the court imposes sentence. I understand it's a mandatory sentence, but she would like to be heard.
Sure. If you want to maybe turn the podium. And my understanding is we don't have to have a score sheet because there is only one sentence which can be imposed.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, ma'am, let's start with this. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Okay.
Please state your name, please.
Joan Goldstein Huskins Parker.
And Ms. Huskins Parker, what was your relationship to Taylor Wright?
I was Taylor's aunt.
And is there something you want to say to the court before she imposes sentence?
Yes, I do want to say that, and I know this is, that I was there when Taylor came into this world, and I'm here today. And I just wanted you to know that our family has lost so much. A piece of our tree of life is gone. We will never get it back. For us, this is just closing some of the book for the legal, but it doesn't close the book for all the loss. For myself, her father, her stepmother, my husband, my children, my grandchildren, her son, everybody. And that Taylor was taken too early, and she was not taken through an act of God or through illness. She was taken through human behavior that was very cruel. And I could go on, but it's just such a tragic story. But I wanted to thank you, and I'm glad that we came to this decision today.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Barry Barasset, do you or does Ms. MacArthur want to say anything before I impose sentence?
Judge, the only thing I would offer in the court, just run this sentence concurrent with her other sentence that she's already been sentenced to. That's it.
Okay, I just need all of you to stand. And Ms. MacArthur, I'm going to ask you one question. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? If so, say I do. Okay. Ms. MacArthur, I want to make sure that I ask you personally, do you want to say anything to the court? Okay. All right, then, Ashley MacArthur, having been found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by a jury of your peers of first-degree premeditated murder with a firearm, I am going to adjudicate you guilty. I'm going to sentence you to life with a mandatory minimum 25 years state prison for the firearm. That will be with credit for
327 days.
327 days. That will run concurrent with any other sentence that you are serving. I assume it's $518 fines and costs. Are there any other fines and costs? And anything else the state other than the 30 days? All right, and you have 30 days. The 518 will be reduced to a lien. And you have 30 days to appeal the judgment and sentence of the court. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, one will be appointed for you. I wish you good luck.
So that's it. She's sentenced to life, but has the possibility of parole after 25 years, which I personally don't think is long enough. She shot Taylor in the back of the head, which is kind of a wuss move, if you ask me. Like, she didn't even face her. She let Taylor walk in front of her and shot her in the back of the head. I don't know what happened on that farm that day, but I've thought about it a lot. And I'm pretty sure that she got Taylor to go up to the farm by telling her, hey, I don't really have a lockbox. I put your cashier's check at my aunt's farm, so we got to go up there to get it. And I hid it back here in these woods along this fence line. Why don't you come over? It's right in there. It's right in the woods right over there. And Taylor walked in front of her only a couple of feet away. And she was shot in the back of the head. The back of the head. And I bet that's the story she wanted to tell Cassandra. I'll tell you later what's going on was that Ashley told, this is all speculation on my part, by the way. Let's make that clear. Said to Taylor, hey, there is no lockbox. I actually put it on my family's farm. The money, the $34,000 cashier's check, it's up at my aunt's farm. Let's go up there and get it. And that's when Taylor texted Cassandra and said, "Oh my gosh, you're never going to believe it. I'll tell you later what's going on." That's the story of Taylor Wright. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you come back. Hey, Zena. My co-host is asleep. I hope you come back next week. Friday Night Crime with number 2. That's Friday the 7th. Friday Night Crime with number 2. By the way, if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, all of those things. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. That's how YouTube works. All of the platforms. I'd like to thank the 32 people who are watching now across the different platforms on Twitch, on Twitter, on Rumble, and Odyssey. Where else are we? Where else are we broadcasting right now? 6 different places. 2 YouTube channels, Twitch, Twitter, Odyssey, and Rumble. Anyway, hit the like button. Come back Friday, 7:30 Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. No AM streams for us. And I will see you all on Friday. Oh, game night Saturday too. So look out for that. Friday night crime, Saturday night game night. We'll see you next weekend, guys. Have a good week. Enjoy your loved ones. Spend time together and tell them that you love them, because you never know if there's an Ashley MacArthur lurking around the corner. Good night, guys.
I can't understand what you're saying. We're late stage in the catacombs. Shuffling a single card today. Broken table trying to play some ping pong. It's not subtle when we celebrate a magazine with the pages torn. My body cracks, knees buckling. I got a bad case of brain fog. Said I got a bad case of brain fog. So I'ma take my butt home. So I'ma take my butt home.